Good morning. We're testing the live stream a few minutes before we're scheduled to begin. I am very excited to start this live stream class, and I'm figuring it out. This is a test of the live stream feature of this site. It's my first time using it. So we have a live chat. Oh, 5 people are here. Okay, how exciting. Wow. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome Carol and Pat and a couple of people whose names aren't showing up. Now it says 21 participants. So do me a big favor and put something in the chat. Say your name and the city and state that you are joining us from. And thank you so much for joining our Yin Yoga 1-hour live stream class. And so in addition to the thing that you're going to put in your chat, which I can see your messages right here on my iPad, let's go ahead and if you have any requests, I'm taking requests today. So if you have any requests for specific areas we focus on, or if there's any injured areas that you want to let me know about, I can do my best to incorporate what comes through into our practice today. So good morning to us on Sunday, August 16th, and I'm here in Marin County, California, and we have a serious heat wave going on, and it feels like the weather is about to break any moment. And it was kind of a interesting night with lots of lightning, and wow. So we'll just give it a few minutes. It's 9:29 here while people still arrive, and I'm just really curious where I'm supposed to find this chat. Oh, there it is. I found it on the iPad. All right. I've got it. Oh, Kara's here. Good morning, Kara. I want to hear about your trip. So I think we will just dive in. And like I said, oh, Angelique is here. Good morning, Angelique. I'm so glad you guys are doing this first live stream class. So like I said, I'm testing this feature out today on the site, and going to be much better quality than the Zoom classes we've been doing. And so I'm excited about that, and also excited to just have it be one of the features of the new subscription site. And so this morning we have stormy weather. We've got a lot of humidity, and it has the feeling in the air that something might happen soon, maybe even during the class here, lots of clouds in the sky. And so I hope everyone's doing okay in the midst of COVID and this if you're in this part of the country with this very interesting heat wave and lightning stuff that's going on, wow. So I'm going to do my best to keep. Oh, Sue from Gila is here. Georgia from Forest Knolls. So I know every one of you that's here. And that's just wonderful. Actually, I don't know if we've met Pat in person, but I look forward to meeting you, Pat from Oakland. And so any requests? Pam is here from Sholo, Arizona. All right, any requests, send them on in. Today we're going to do a 1-hour Yin Yoga practice for the whole body, but focusing on hips. So Yin Yoga is kind of like for the hips and the spine. That's our 2 main target areas. And in a lesser way, there are postures for the upper body and the neck and the shoulders. There's a new class on the site that I know some of you have already checked out that is focusing on some of those upper body postures a little bit more. But today we will keep it focused mostly on the hips, which is a big request I've been getting since I've been doing these online classes. So let's begin with a seated meditation, sitting in Seiza. So that's sitting on your heels. And you can always modify this with a block or 2 underneath your seat. Or you can sit any way that works for you, maybe cross legs with your back against the wall. And go ahead and close the eyes. Let the hands come into the lap with the palms facing up. And 1 minute of sitting quietly, listening to your breath. And if you're just arriving, welcome to our first live stream class. Please put your name and your city and your state in the chat so that I can see who's here, so everyone else can see who's here. And as we sit for 1 minute, feel the breath rise and fall. Feel the belly and the chest expand and deflate. And soften the tongue inside of your mouth. And soften the tops of your feet. Soften your toes and your shins as they contact the ground. And now place your palms together in front of your heart and chanting Om with me 3 times. Begin with an exhale and inhale. Om. And releasing the hands, gently opening up the eyes and coming to sit with the soles of your feet together for butterfly pose. You can come forward over the legs like so, or you can use a cushion, sit on top of a blanket, a folded blanket, or a towel, or any kind of sofa cushion that you've got. And so the firmer cushions tend to work a little bit better than softer cushions, but whatever you've got, make it work. Soles of the feet together. If the feet want to open up like a book, that's fine. You can hold around the toes. You could have the hands on the ground or on the shins. 3 minutes here in butterfly pose. And we've had some new arrivals. And Elizabeth Fenwick is happy to be here. Welcome, Elizabeth. And Tracy Power from Inverness Park. Welcome. Kira in Guerneville. It's raining in Guerneville. Welcome, Kira. Suzanne DeConey is in the house from Inverness. All right. And Sandy in Point Reyes, who's usually in Tucson, straddling the same 2 towns that I usually do. Welcome, Sandy. Okay, I'm so glad you've all joined this morning. Let's continue to sink into this butterfly pose. And I know at least one of the members of our class today was requesting postures that are gentle on the knees, so I will include some of those instructions in today's class. So some people do better with some props underneath the outside of the legs here. It's not something you need to do if your knees are off the ground. It's not that you really need to fill that gap in and stop the stretching from happening here, but halfway through our time in the pose now, see if you can sink in a little bit deeper, a little bit softer. Find a little more softening in the spine, the inner thighs. The target area of this pose is the inner thighs, the inner groins here. And staying connected with your breath. And slowly now releasing. That's our 3 minutes. Lift the spine upright and come onto your back, taking a 1 minute rest on the back to feel the effects of the pose. Closing the eyes here. And let your body sprawl out as much as you'd like, arms and legs spreading, sprawling out. Soften the face, soften the jaw. And feel the energy inside of the body. After that first butterfly pose, notice what you feel in the inner thighs. Notice what you feel anywhere else in the body as the chi makes its way through, spreads out, and radiates. And now drawing the knees in toward the chest, hug the knees in and gently rock side to side. Good, and clasp the hands around the right knee, extend the left leg forward onto the mat, and with the hands clasped, draw them in, hug the knee in toward the chest. 1 minute here, breathing, holding the knee in. Feel the breath rise and fall in your belly. And if this is difficult on the knee, you could clasp behind the thigh instead, under the knee. And from here, we're going to lift the head up toward the knee for a moment. And now reach your right hand down to hold the bottom of the foot. Come into one-legged happy baby pose. Let the head come back down. So for some of you, putting some support under the head will make this more comfortable. You can put a block or a cushion under your head. And for some of you, reaching the foot is difficult or impossible. So you're going to grab a strap or something, whatever you have, and put it around the foot. Or if that's not convenient today, one hand on the knee, and you could open the knee out to the side. Any of these modifications, 1 minute here. Working into the hips, maybe into the lower back a bit. Notice where you feel the pose. And you may know already from practicing with me, most of you here in the live class know anyway, that we in Yin Yoga aren't going for the perfect form in the pose. We're more going for the sensation. What are we feeling in the pose? And are we feeling it in the target area? So in this pose, it's going to be the glutes, maybe the back of the thigh, the inner thigh, and the lower back. And if it feels good to you, if it's in your range of motion, you could experiment with extending the leg up, pressing out into the heel, maybe straight up or farther out to the side. That's totally up to you. Good, and release the foot now. And let's take this foot on top of the left thigh, the left knee, and cross the knee over to the side, coming into a twist. So as you do this, you can tuck your left hip back toward the midline of your mat if you're on a mat, and then reach your right arm out to the side. Good, softening, breathing here. Resting here. And it's always an option to have something under this knee, a block or two, or a nice big cushion. Twisting into the spine. releasing, bring it back up to the center. Straighten out your hips, stretch your legs out, spread your arms out, and take 1 minute rest before we do the second side. And if there's any discomfort in the lower back or anywhere else with a flat lying position, then this is often a good way to relieve that. You just bend your knees and then have your feet pretty wide, like as wide as your mat if you're on a mat, and then let the knees rest against each other. So you can take all of your rests, shavasana poses, like this instead. Breathing, softening, feeling the energy in the body after doing that mini 1 minute each hip sequence on the first side. Two or three more breaths. There are 19 of us here today. Let's clasp the knee, draw the knee in toward the chest. So left knee in toward the chest now. And draw the chin down toward the chest, lengthen the back of your neck. And again, you could hold behind the thigh instead of around the knee if that's more comfortable for your knee or for your hips. And now lift your head up toward your knee and reach your left hand down, holding the foot and lifting it up, and the head comes back down for that one-legged happy baby pose, modifying as you need to, hand to the knee or a strap around the foot. And another modification that's helpful for some people is to bend this leg. Some people just like this way of doing it better. Let that knee fall out to the side if it feels good, or keep it up toward the center. And breathe here. And maybe extending into the heel for a few breaths if it feels good, if it's in your range of motion, to extend and explore your hip circling around. Even with the knee bend, you can just find a little bit of movement here. Yeah. Good, and now let's take this left foot on top of the right thigh and scoot the hips the other way, so toward your left, and bring the knee across. So knee is into the twist, left arm reaching out to your left side. Using a prop under the knee if you'd like to. Notice what you feel in the spine here and in the left hip as the knee crosses over. release the twist. Bring it back up to the center. Straighten out your hips and your shoulders. And take another 1 minute rest here in Shavasana, in any modified form of Shavasana that you'd like to take. Bending the knees now. Draw them in, and with one hand around each knee, lift your head up toward your knees, squeezing into a ball. And take the head back down. Roll over onto one side and make your way up and into child's pose. So child's pose with the knees slightly separated, or you can play around with how much the knees are close together or farther apart. Resting and breathing here in child's pose. And if your head doesn't rest on the ground comfortably, then your options are to let it hover if that feels fine, or you could have your hands stacked, or you can use a block or two or a cushion under your forehead. And slowly coming up now. And as you come up, come to sit with your legs in front of you. We'll take the half butterfly pose, starting with the right leg forward and the left leg bent. And so options here again are to sit up on a cushion if you like. And also for the knee that's out to the side, make it comfortable. If this is not comfortable on your knee or any other part of your body, you can always have a block or another cushion under the knee as high up as you need it to be. You can also play around with the angle. Maybe the leg doesn't need to bend so much. Maybe both legs are just kind of straight ahead and you can still come over this one extended leg. So adjust as you need to, remembering the target area, which for this pose is the back of the leg, the back of the thigh of your right leg. Sometimes if you lift yourself up on a certain amount of lift here in order to be able to pour the weight forward, you get a little unstable where you need a little support under the hands. So blocks are good for that, or whatever you've got to support yourself and get more ability to use your arms. 3 minutes here on each side for the half butterfly. Noticing these first layers of tension in the first minute here. What we work through in the first minute of a yin pose is usually muscular tension more than fascia tension. We're just getting through the outer layer, and then with the next, once we get into 2 or 3 minutes, we start to feel that deeper sensation of the fascia itself. Exhaling and softening with each breath, with each exhale, finding an opportunity to let go and to soften a little bit more. In our yin forward bends, as we inhale, we often have to come up out of the pose a little bit, maybe hardly even noticeable. But then each time we exhale, we can soften into it a little bit more. Not about forcing yourself into it more, but just allowing, unfolding, releasing into it more with each exhale. And now slowly releasing. Take a moment with the spine upright to just feel the energy in the leg, in the spine. Pausing. And then changing sides. So your left leg is forward, your right leg is in. And I don't see any new chats, so if you have any requests or comments, feel free. I'm checking as much as I can as we move through the class. And also, if there's any technical problems, if you can't hear me anymore, I sure hope you're all there. Yes, you're all still there. So come on over this left leg, 3 minutes. So focusing on the hips today, and this pose is for the hips. So the hamstrings are part of the hips, and in the yin model, the functional approach to yoga, as we call it, we have 4 quadrants of the thigh that we work with: the front, the insides, and the back. And sometimes people call it 5 quadrants, which I won't get into. But to make a long story short, which you can take a whole teacher training with me to learn about the long story. The short story is people think of the hips as this thing on the outside, or there's some vague idea of what the hips are, and they're like here, but it's actually the back of the leg as well, the front of the leg as well, the inside and the outside of the leg. So that's what we're focusing on today. And it's really a great portion of all the yoga that we do, is the quote-unquote hips. Breathing and softening, breathing and letting go. And once again, each inhale might lift you up a little bit, which makes space for each exhale to soften, to bring you a little bit deeper. And slowly now releasing. Take a moment to pause with the spine upright and breathe here. And slowly releasing, coming all the way down onto your back. Resting for 1 minute on your back. Noticing what you feel now after working into the backs of the legs, the hamstrings, the urinary bladder channel. Maybe some sensation radiating upward through the sacrum, through either side of the spinal column, the back of the neck even, and the crown of the head. And now bending the knees, hug them into your chest. And with one hand on each knee, make some circles with the knees. So keep the knees close together, circle them around so you're massaging around your sacrum. And then circling around in the other direction. Good, and now let's roll it over onto one side and come into a dragon pose. So dragon pose with the left leg forward. And a few options with your hands here. So what we're going for as we explore these options is a stretch here in the back of the thigh, or the front of the thigh of your back leg. So right thigh, right hip flexors, anywhere between the low ribs and the knee on this right side. Your hands can be on either side of your foot like so, or they can be right hand on the floor, left elbow on the knee, and this hand could be closer or farther out, more like a tripod. And then you can dip the hips down if that feels better for you, or keep them more square. And you can come onto both hands on the inside of the foot or both elbows. And finally, some people like to be a little higher with the torso, so your options here are to clasp your hands on the knee or to use blocks if you have yoga blocks, one under each hand like this or like this. So 3 minutes exploring your variation. And if you're newer, you can play around with the variations. And this is a pose that my knee-challenged students often want to avoid. So let me tell you the options for that. The back knee on the ground is often the thing that causes problems. So the best alternative to this is to lie down on your left hip if you're going for the right leg stretch, and then hold the right foot behind you. So you're on your left elbow and the right foot behind you. And then if holding the foot is too much, you can have a strap, a belt of any kind around the foot, and that'll get this same target area. And if your knee is not comfortable in the back, but you don't want to go doing a whole other pose, you can try just padding under the knee. Any amount of layers of blanket folded or towels, whatever seems nice and soft for your knee that you have at home. And slowly releasing, coming up, and step back into downward dog or child's pose. If you take downward dog, then bend the knees one at a time, walk the legs out. Good, and now coming into it on the second side. So this will be the right leg forward this time, left leg is back, or if you're doing that modified pose, you're lying down on your side, on your right hip, and then holding the left foot in the hand. 3 minutes. Whatever version you're in, you always have permission here to play around with the squaring or non-squaring of the hips. So that means you could let the left hip dip down as much as you'd like, or have it more up where the right hip is. And all of these choices will change where you feel the stretch in your leg. And so you might choose one orientation of the hips one day and another orientation another day. Some of you have heard me say that Yin Yoga is like the punk rock of yoga. So it's the yoga where we don't like rules very much and we like to play around with the rules. And so when it comes to hip postures, that is especially true because hips have so much variation in their structure from person to person that we really do need to, in order to honor the body properly, we really need to have a lot of variation, a lot of permission, and a lot of willingness to break these rules for those who've done a lot of other kinds of yoga before that have strict rules. We need to let go of some of these alignment dogmas that we've learned in order to honor our bodies properly. And slowly now releasing, coming up, and make your way back into child's pose to rest here in child's pose. One minute here. Slowly now coming up. And let's move now to the outer hips. And so as I was saying, a lot of people think of the hips as these outer hips, and what we've done so far in today's practice is the other parts of the hips, the front of the hips when we did the dragon pose, the inner thighs when we did the butterfly pose, and the backs of the thighs when we did the half butterfly with one leg straight. So now moving into this more pesky area of the outer hips, and we're going to do a little bit of a journey of the selection of postures that work this outer hip area, 1 minute each on journeying through these postures, and then I'll give you a longer time to hold whichever is the one that you feel like is your favorite or most effective one for today. So the first choice is lying down on the back for the figure 4 pose. And as you come onto your back, you'll take your right ankle over your left knee, and then the hands can clasp behind the thigh, or for some of you, in front of the shin. For me, if I go a little farther in front of the shin, then it lifts my head up to the point where I want to put something under my head, and I know this helps a lot of people find comfort in the pose, is to have some lift under the head so that you're not in a tweaked neck kind of position. So 1 minute here, and then another option, if it's convenient where you are, is to have the left foot on the wall and the right ankle over the knee, and then you can just free your arms up and still get the stretch here. So whichever version you're in, you've got a stretch of the right buttock, right buttocks, right outer hip. And releasing and changing sides. So I know that was kind of a short time, but like I said, you'll have more time to sink into your favorite of these outer hip poses after we take our little journey through the selections. Left ankle now over the right knee, hold behind the thigh or in front of the shin. Staying connected to your breath. All right, I'm releasing now, and extend both legs long down the mat. Interlace your fingers, press your palms up and away, and stretch your whole body long like a big yawning kind of movement. And releasing now, bend your knees and come on over to one side to make your way to a sitting position. We will take it into a sitting square pose now. So square pose is right ankle over the left knee, and an option also is to do it with your right foot on the floor, so both feet are on the floor. And you come forward, either position, you come forward. So if you do the version with both feet on the ground, that's a little bit easier on the knees, and then also sitting up on a cushion as high as you'd like to is a nice way to modify this, make it less intense. For some people, this posture is impossible, so I want you to be aware of that. We're just doing it for a moment, and it's actually already time to release and move to the other side. So don't do any of these postures. Don't force yourself to do any of these versions that your body just says, nah-uh. because that's why we're doing this exploration, is so that you can find out which ones your body says yes to and which ones your body says no to. Left foot on top of the right knee or both feet on the ground. Again, the target area is the outer hips. So this is your glutes, your buttocks on the left side for this pose, though for this particular pose, a lot of people will feel it on both sides, but we're going mostly for the left side when the left foot is on the top. And that's it, time is up. So now we come into the second version of this, which is the shoelace pose. So let's go back to right leg on top, right knee on top of the left. And so this one is going to rule out even more of you. Some of you might have the knee way up here and not even have much option to go forward. Some of you do this and say, oh, that's so much better than this one with the knees wide. So our hips are all just very different. Try this one out for just a short time. If your body says no way, then listen to your body and do the other version, or just rest for a few moments. And when we do this shoelace version, people often wonder or worry if their feet need to be equally out to either side, and the answer is no, they don't need to be. So if one foot wants to be down next to your hip, the way mine tends to be, and the other one wants to be there, or some other even looser version, this is sometimes done in Yin, it's called the untied shoelace. You can take any of these versions. Target area of the side we're on is the right buttocks. So go ahead and release now, and we'll take it to the second side. Left knee on top of the right. Feeling the breath. On any version, the untied version, knee higher up in the air. If you get the stretch in the target area, even if your knee is up in the air, that's fine. You're doing the pose. There's not any points scored for getting the knees to touch or anything. The target area is what we care about here. Left buttocks, if your left foot is on the side, or left leg is on top. Very good. Releasing the pose now. And take your feet in front of you and your hands behind you, and take a moment to release with the legs coming into these windshield wipers, taking a few moments before we do our final exploration, which is the sleeping swan pose. So coming into it with your left leg in front, your right leg behind you. So many versions and variations of this pose. You might already know your favorite. You might already know that you don't do this pose, that your body doesn't like it. So sit it out or do one of the others. Options are to have this front foot farther down or farther up away from you. Sit over onto the left hip like I'm doing, or have the hips more square. And what else do we have? Oh, the torso can swing more to the left or more to the right. And you could stay up higher, or most people come down, but some people like to do the pose up higher. So our 1 minute exploration here, we're already halfway into it. And the target area is the left leg, left outer hip, left buttocks. Very good. Lifting up and changing sides. Right leg forward, left leg back. So those of you who have some pose in this set of 4 postures that your body just says no to, usually that no comes in the form of knee pain. And so this is a common problem in this pose, that the knees cause pain. Sometimes we've learned those more rigid alignment rules in Hatha yoga and other kinds of yoga that say that there have to be certain, the hips have to be square and there have to be certain angles of the front leg. Sometimes we can avoid that pain by breaking those rules and letting the body come over onto the hip or something. And so the irony is that sometimes those alignment rules that are taught in the name of safety are the same things that can cause the pose to become less safe for some people. And so I always encourage my students to listen to your body about what's safe and what's not. And you might find that you actually can do the pose, but remember, it's not about the pose. It's not about making the body do the pose. So if you play around with it and you still can't find a way for the pose to feel effective for you, then let it go and do one of these other versions. That's why we are doing this exploration, because you only need one pose to target the outer hips. You don't need to be able to do all of these. So I have yabbered away our time in that pose, and now let's come into your favorite version of whichever of those 4 poses we did. So again, we had the figure 4 pose on the back, the shoelace, the square, or the sleeping swan pose. And sleeping swan, most of you know this, I think, but that's just the yin name for pigeon pose. So it's the same pose, but we have the freer alignment in the yin version. So starting your first side now. Your favorite pose, yogi's choice, outer hips. Halfway through our time, and I'm going to be asking you all to share in the chat what was your favorite one, what is your favorite one of this exploration. So you don't have to tear yourself out of the pose, but before you sign off, that's going to be our after class discussion in the chat, is to hear about everybody's favorite preference here. I'm doing my favorite, the shoelace, which I am aware from a couple of decades of teaching yoga that this is not most people's favorite. And slowly release the pose, and slowly now change sides, whichever pose you are in. Stay connected to your breath. Very good. That's our outer hip yogi's choice sequence. Let's come onto the back now, coming into our final relaxation. Make yourself comfortable with any props, maybe a couple of pillows under the knee, maybe a blanket over top of you, maybe an eye pillow over the eyes, whatever you need to be perfectly comfortable here. And feel free to spread the legs out wide if that feels good, or to bend the knees with the feet wide and let the knees rest in against each other. Hands are maybe here on the belly, or maybe along your sides, or maybe spread way out to the sides. Take as much space as you want to, as much space as you need to. And this is the most important time of the practice, to integrate what postures we've done, what energies we've awakened. To let the chi circulate through the body, making its exploration, bringing healing to wherever it's needed, as the channels of energy are now open. And feel the breath flowing through these channels, inhaling, exhaling freely through this open body. The face is soft, the jaw is soft. Hands and feet are soft, fingers and toes are soft. The lower legs and the knees and the upper legs are soft and relaxed. The hips, the inner thighs, front of the thighs, back of the thighs, and outer thighs. All of these areas that we have gently stretched and stimulated this morning. Noticing what's happening here, noticing the sense of space here, or whatever is present, and breathing into it. And this sensation that's here in the hips, in the thighs, notice how it radiates, perhaps up through the sacrum, into the torso and into the spine, perhaps down the legs. Continuing to rest for one more minute, feeling every breath that your body breathes for this last minute. And letting the sound of the bowl carry you a little bit deeper into your core of awareness. And now taking a deeper breath into your belly and into your heart. And as you exhale, gently stretch into your fingers and your toes. Stretch out into your arms and your legs and bend your knees, rolling over onto one side and slowly making your way up into a comfortable seat. And once you get here, place the palms together in front of your heart. Any comfortable sitting position, cross legs or seiza, or sitting back against the wall. And chanting Om 3 times. So begin with an exhale, just emptying, softening, rooting down through your sit bones. And now inhale. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining this first live stream class at Devi Daly Yoga. So like I said, I'd love to hear from you. And I also have some things to announce, but first I want to hear what was your favorite of the 4 hip postures that we went through. So if you can stick that into the chat. And we will have, I'll just round up the names of those postures because someone has asked me to do that. So the names of those postures are the on the back, the figure 4 pose with the ankle over the knee, maybe at the wall. Figure 4. This one is square pose. This one is shoelace pose. And the other 4th one is sleeping swan with the chest toward the ground. Swan pose from Pat, okay. And so we'll continue to see those coming through. And if anybody joined us late, put your name and your city and state in the chat. And so this is, I'll just move into my announcements while these answers come through. Colin, hello Colin. So we have, this is the beginning of our second half of August yoga calendar. Some of you are going to be watching this as a recording, so this is the first class of the August 16th to 31st calendar. So we have, as we did last time, 3 classes a week, and I think most of you are here because you got my email that went out yesterday. So this is a small class because I just activated this live stream feature, and I'm actually on a trial with the platform. It costs more to do this live stream, and I'm not sure if I'm going to continue doing it this way or if I'll go back to Zoom or what, but I'm interested in hearing your feedback about this experience as a live class. I don't love the quality of Zoom classes, so that's one of the reasons I really wanted to try this platform, and I really like the idea of having it here inside of Devi Daly Yoga, inside of the channel, which is where I'm putting a lot of my energy right now. So I want to hear your comments about the site in general, and I really am responding to and enjoying responding to requests for classes. So I already have on my slate a Yin Yoga for the hips, which today was, but I'll do one that's more of a permanent Yin Yoga for the hips. I have Yin Yoga for bad knees is what's been requested. I probably won't call it that, but what should it be called? There's so many people out there who still want to do yoga and struggle with a lot of the knee things that come up, and I have a lot of experience working with a population of older people who have that need, so I really feel like I can deliver that class. I'm just not sure what to call it, so that's coming up soon. I'm really excited about my yoga squat class that's coming up. On the site are 2 new classes. There's a Yin Yang Yoga for the upper body, and well, there's more than 2 new ones, but coming. But these 2 new ones just went up. This Yin Yang Yoga for the upper body, and also Yin for inflexible hips. So if you know people who don't sit on the ground easily, any older folks in your life, or a lot of times, I don't like to genderize it too much, but there's a lot of men who come to yoga and it's so uncomfortable for them to do the most basic sitting on the ground. And some women as well, and they're just like, oh, yoga's not for me, right? That's kind of what they leave thinking. And there's so much yoga you can do without sitting on the ground. So that's what this class is, a little portal into. You can share the class with them. And now here we have some chats coming in. Is there a platform that could allow me to include music? I don't know yet. I think the answer is yes here, and I've just got to get into the tech of it. So Kira, thanks for that question. Sandy liked this platform. Good. Bonnie Felix, you like the figure 4 pose. Excellent. I remember that about you. Pam likes the shoelace tie 4 shoelace, and sleeping swan. Square is a less favorite. Should I work on it? No, don't work on it. Listen to your body. If you've got 2 out of those 4 that work for you, that's awesome. Figure 4 really works for me, from Tracy. Wonderful class, says Colin. The swan pose. Kira says she usually does anything, but doesn't like it today. What? I usually do anything but figure 4. Got it. I usually do anything but figure 4 because I don't like it, but today I challenged myself. Okay, good. Yeah, sometimes I like to make you all do all the variations just because so you can explore things, new things, or things you normally wouldn't do. I liked that no one accidentally unmuted, says Sandy. Yes, that there are some things about Zoom, and that's one of them that I'm not sad about not having here. Elizabeth, I like this format better than Zoom. Good quality, says Carol. Welcome, Carol. I didn't see you here earlier. Swan pose, lopsided over the hip. Lopsided, that's a good word for letting the hip dip down. So what else does Colin say? As a former leader of a rock band, love the punk rock illusion. Awesome, Colin. Great site and much better video quality. Yes, I don't need to see all the other little screens of people. I kind of miss seeing you all, but we're trying this out. How about kinesi? I don't understand that question, Sue. Can you clarify? Lose the word bad. Yeah, Suzanne. I want to talk to you, Suzanne, about the knee thing, about that class that I'm putting together. So I did get your email. Challenged knees, well-worn knees. Okay, thanks for those suggestions of names for that class. Ian Manface suggested yoga for knee health. Well, that's a good one. Thank you. Georgia, I really miss seeing the Sangha in this format and feeling the community support. Yes, I mean, I'm feeling it quite a bit with all these chats, so thank you all for participating. But yes, not being able to see the faces or being able to see the faces in Zoom, I really wish that was part of this experience here. So thanks all. This is a really good discussion we're having in this chat format. Stay with this format, says Colin. Much better with the full screen. So I hope you all know you can put this in full screen. Suman, I love the class this way. Just now discovered the position of chat on the screen. Yeah, maybe you were on an iPad like me and couldn't quite find it. Suman in Marshall, thank you. Sound quality is much better. That's really important to me. And Zoom sound quality is no matter how good of sound I put out, Zoom destroys it. So that makes me crazy. So I really like this format better for the audio. Pat Tony agrees better than Zoom. So, I'm open to the critical, I don't need to hear from everyone that you like it, but I'm hearing a lot of people like it, not everyone. The video didn't work on your laptop, Tracy. Are you using Internet Explorer? Because it doesn't work on Internet Explorer. Don't pronounce, Sue clarified, don't pronounce the K. Easy knees. Oh, got it. All right, that's a little bit of a stretch, but I can appreciate that. All right. Okay. Yeah, we did a hip focus today, which, Bonnie says she likes the full body focus. So we do have a number of those full body classes on the site already. Next time I do a live class, it'll most likely be more of a full body class. So you're all sticking around here. That's amazing. And I wanted to ask one more question of you all, which is just requests for future classes. We've already talked about the knee class, and I have Bonnie's regular, Firefox you're using, Tracy. I don't know, I think it's supposed to be okay with Firefox, but we can talk more about it. I don't really know why it isn't working. So yeah, whole body yin for a live class we'll do, maybe more whole body yin classes. What length of classes do you like best for the classes on the platform? How's the 30 minutes versus the 45 minutes versus the 60 minutes? Or do you want even more, 90 minutes or like 2 hours or half-day retreats? There's so many possibilities here, and I think eventually it'll all come out, all these different ideas and lengths. But what's a priority? What do you want to see sooner than later? Zen for your knees. Ooh, that's an awesome name, Pam. Thank you for that. A class for people who spend time on computers, Sandy. So more of those are going to come, but the one that's on there that I just put on called Yin Yang, upper body Yin Yang Yoga, that is for computer strain specifically. And there's just so much demand for there's more coming, and there's a lot more things we can do besides what's in that hour-long class. 45 to 60 minutes is preferred, says Pat. Okay, good. So yin for the shoulders, please. Okay. I hear you, Tracy. And I love that these chats are still coming in. Shoulder stretches would be nice, and the 1 hour format is just right. Yeah, a lot of online yoga. I've been researching it, and there's a lot of online yoga that's really short classes, like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour. And the research kind of says, oh, when people do yoga at home, they don't really want to do as long as they do when they have taken the trouble to drive to a yoga studio or something. But I'm finding with yin it's a little bit different, that we really do want to sink in. So the 30-minute class I got a lot of positive feedback on, but I think mostly people are going for the hour-long classes, and I'm going to keep experimenting and keep observing. I do get statistics. I can see like how many of you watched the hour-long class and how many of you, I can't see your individual stuff, but I can just see which classes are being watched and which ones people are actually making it through to the end or not. So this is all very exciting to me because I'm kind of a tech nerd, and I like to see how new things like this work. It's been a lot of work, and it's been an exciting challenge for me. Some of you don't know that I have a computer science degree. I went to school. I have a bachelor's degree in computer science. So this is all like right up my alley. And being able to teach to you all and to share the practice with you all is just awesome during this time, to do it from my home, to be able to do it this way. I like 1 hour and 15 minutes for full body. Bonnie, okay, you know what you want. I like that in a woman. Agree, 1 hour is great. Kara, okay. And short and long, Kira says, because sometimes you have a lot of time and sometimes you don't have a lot of time or whatever. So, okay, I hear you. All right, well, awesome, everyone. So let's wrap it up and check out the August 16 to 31 experience if you haven't already. And I love seeing your comments and your questions, and any of these kinds of comments can be comments below the videos as well. Some of you are sending your questions and comments to me on email. I'd love it if it doesn't feel too private, to please share it on the comments, because then everyone gets to benefit from your question or from your comment, to see that you're there and to feel a better sense of community. So welcome to those of you who are new on the site, and I will see you next time.